Werewolves are here. They're among us. They're in our small towns. Who could it be? Who could it be? Who's the werewolf? Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I am pleased to talk to on the podcast the second time, Josh Ruben, whose movie Scare Me was so much fun. It is now a cult classic. He's here with his new film Werewolves Within, which, oh my gosh, you cast one of my favorite people. Sam Richardson is the lead in this thing. Knocking it out of the park. I mean, from Veep to so much of, he's appeared in so many cool indie comedies and whatnot. Josh, no surprise that this has a kind of a similar tone or sense of humor, with Scare Me is in Werewolves Within. I mean, it's as much a comedy as a horror film. Tell me what led to this and also putting together this incredible cast.
Well, hello. Nice to be here. How are you? Vanishing Angel, who had produced another werewolf film, The Wolf of Snow Hollow, saw an early cut of Scare Me and asked if I would be interested in throwing my hat in the ring on Werewolves Within as a director. And I was nervous about the prospect of a studio film adapted an adaptation of a video game movie, studio video game film. And then I opened Mishna's script and was just blown away. It just felt like Arachnophobia. It felt like Clue. It felt like Hot Fuzz and Fargo. And I had to be a part of it, and I did. And the rest is history. Here we are.
Well, Sam, I know Sam from it seems like I run into him at Sundance every year. I always run into that guy, and he's super fun to hang out with. I got to imagine it was it must have been really fun to just hang out with him on the set. And this cast is, I'm glad you mentioned Fargo, because it definitely has like a Fargo feel for sure, like small town. And I'm gonna butcher her name, Milana Weintraub. Weintraub.
Weintraub, like
Weintraub. Okay, yeah. Everyone's gonna know her name, Weintraub. She is from the at&t commercials. She's so funny in those. She's amazing, and her and Sam have this incredible chemistry.
Incredible, yeah. The whole cast did,
for sure. But those two in particular have this incredible chemistry. Tell me what it was like to work with those two. They just knocked it out of the park.
I mean, it was incredible. Sam and I hit it off right away. He felt like just a contemporary. It just felt like a buddy. Like, we started talking. It was just so easy. And he's like one of the good men, like one of like the Hollywood good men. I don't know how else to put it. I was, you always worried about working with like a star, TV star, movie star, any star. And he's just like so normal and funny and kind, and really fit into my mandate of a no asshole rule right away. He goes, "You're never going to get any problem from me, I promise you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness for you." And Milana, I had known going back a decade now. I've known Milana since the early College Humor days, and she's always been a genius. But now, to have sort of brought her as an option to Ubisoft, and for them to trust me and say, well, she's talented as hell, she's funny as hell, like, yeah, why not? And the fact that her and Sam had known of each other, and that they have I knew that they like got along. I just didn't know that the chemistry would like I don't know, bang off the screen. It really does. I almost said Shazam. It just Shazammed right off the screen, and it blew me away. And the fact that too, like I was saying about the cast, that they not only got along and it was so natural and just so right, but that everybody got along, that helped a whole lot be in the middle of nowhere in the winter in Fleischmann's New York.
Their chemistry and the whole cast is amazing. What's so funny? You keep bringing up Ubisoft. I forgot this is a video game movie, and quite frankly, might be the greatest video game movie ever made, because video game films are kind of fraught with, they never seem to live up to what fans' expectations are, or they kind of get the tone wrong. This is a movie that stands on its own as a film. You don't have to have been familiar with the video game. If you are familiar with the video game, I think adds a whole other layer. Did you play the game at all in preparation for this and explore the world of the game?
Oh, sure, I did. I actually played the game with the creators of the game, which was so intimidating because like I had an Xbox for a while and played like Fallout a whole bunch, but this was very different. I'm new to, to VR, as much as I love it. And I've done a few projects in that world. But I played the game and, I was they were so sweet to me. I was just so kind of slow to the pickup and so intimidated to play with the actual creators. But the game is super fun. And the wonderful thing about this whole process was coming into it, I went to Ubisoft and I said, okay, so what do I owe you guys? Like, they were like, what do you mean? I said, like the Easter eggs. What do we owe the fans? What do we owe everyone kind of the game? I'm sure there has to be, winks to it. And they were like, honestly, you owe us nothing but a good film. Make it good. And the fact that they had, brought this script up with Mishna through the Ubisoft Women's Film and TV Fellowship, we knew from the get-go they wanted to go for quality more than anything else, even over style. They did want a commercial film, but they wanted a good film. So I was the one to sort of say, okay, well, how can we give something to the fans? So there are some sort of nods to the game, perhaps through production design, more than anything else. And certainly you get that, you get a big game nod scene where everyone's, pointing fingers as well.
Well, it does have that, it's almost like a comedy version of The Thing, right? Like
yeah.
The movie The Thing is based on this paranoia of like, well, who could be the thing? Who could? I mean, look, you had me guessing till the end. I recommend do not watch the trailer to this movie. Just see this movie. You really just sort of flip the script on so many levels, like and flipped cliches. Was that kind of your intention going in, is to like, there's a certain way that this would have been approached and you approached it. And there's also like aspects when the film like kicks into gear about a third of the way in, it just really it sort of pedal to the metal. It's just so fast paced. It's like jumping onto a theme park ride. Tell me what went into that, creating that tone and that shift in tone that really kicks it off.
Well, as far as the tone in general, I knew I wanted to be paced up. It's wonderful you say Carpenter, because I didn't quite set out to emulate really anyone other than the feeling of an early Amblin film with something as paced up perhaps as Clue or Hot Fuzz, just in the smart editing and the like, the quirky characters of it all. But as far as like, when things get paced up, a lot of people have been asking me how to balance horror and comedy. It's a very can be a tricky genre. And I think, from Ghostbusters to Tremors, even to films like They Live, these characters more or less are not getting caught trying to be funny. These characters are always committing to what would they really do? How would they really react if like X crazy circumstance happened? And so I think when things ramp up, it's, you want to keep style in mind. You have things like composition, with Anna Drubich's score, with this kind of Jerry Goldsmith-esque sort of vibe. But you also want your actors to play to the real emotional stakes, while keeping the pace up. So it's like, that traditional thing of, an actor's direction is mostly like faster and louder, faster and bigger. It was kind of that case once things ramped up at the beginning of Act 3, and well into the midpoint, was like, do it bigger, do it faster, but you've already done the homework, you've already played these characters, play it for real.
There's almost even like a Clue aspect to the film, in the sense that I'm sitting there questioning myself, saying, okay, I saw that previous scene. Where was everybody when that happened?
Yeah.
I thought I saw that person, but then where did they go? So I'm sitting there trying to figure out like the mystery of all of this. It does keep you guessing until the end for sure, because well, I don't want to ruin anything. It's just that you kind of feel like and then you don't. You're going to question yourself in watching this film. You got now this. This film is playing at Tribeca, is that right? And then it'll be released to theaters the 25th or early July, something like that. Like.
Correct. Yeah, we debut at the Tribeca Film Festival on June 16th. So a week from today, which is terrifying, or right now in this time. And then we open in theaters on June 25th and VOD on July 2nd. So holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to see it. You're going to get to see it with a live audience at a certain point.
I will. The first time. Sorry? Oh,
it's a crowd pleaser, this film.
I hope so. Remains to be seen, but the early critic response from you guys has been really overwhelmingly positive, and so that is just I don't want to say unexpected, but just really heartening. I'm dying to see it with an audience. My goal is to see it until I'm truly sick of the film. I've already seen it to the amount of times one should get sick. Mm-hmm. But the ride of watching it with audiences and watching where folks laugh and jump is just, it's so exciting to me. I can't wait.
What was the vibe on the set? Because as you pointed out Sam Richardson is funny, but he's not being funny. He's playing things really dead straight for most of it. What was the vibe on the set? Because that group of actors, and I'm glad you mentioned the no asshole rule. That I've read that book actually. There's a book based on that concept of that. You get one asshole in a thing, it kind of like pollutes and makes a whole toxic environment just from one person. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. But what was the vibe on the set?
Set was wonderful, and I think part of it is that I started the casting process not only in acting the asshole role with Gail Keller and everything, but casting asking aboard my friends. I knew that with George Basil and Milana Weintraub and Rebecca Henderson and Sam as a start, having hung out with Michaela and knowing how wonderful Michaela Watkins is, let alone how much of a genius, I knew that already we were in good company. And so, when Harvey Guillen turns out to be hysterical and like a beautiful person, when Cheyenne Jackson turns out to be the kindest, sweetest human being on the planet, it's just Wayne Duvall. I mean, all of them, Kathy Curtin. It was sort of mind blowing watching them not only play with one another, but get along and read lines with each other and everything else. All of them are now a part of like my troupe, as long as they will come along for the ride, for any ride. We were blessed. We were blessed that it worked out that way. Everybody, they loved working together, loved playing together, and it felt like camp. It felt like winter camp. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
I mean, this is the kind of fun, film that we need in the theater right now. Very much an escapist. Like, let's just like have a blast. Because you started out with Scare Me and then this film, is there another film that will complete, say, a trilogy, the Josh Ruben trilogy of
Mike Cornetto?
Yeah, like, is there something down the road that you're working on that kind of just like cap this as almost a trilogy?
There's something I'm working on right now that I think would cap this pretty well. I mean, it's such a Herculean effort to get a film made, and especially the way that I want to shift gears and go bigger with the next one. I think it's possible. I think the story's there, and I think I can kind of continue sort of riding the trilogy wave, as it were, of Amblin Coen brothers movies.
Well, I hope that happens for sure, because you definitely, I mean, from Scare Me to this film, I mean, it seems like you've raised the stakes from these. I'm really excited to see what you do next.
Me too. Oh goodness.
Yes. Well, when you work in this industry, you're kind of always like, you foresee like your date of unemployment, like that's when it's
Mhm.
coming, right? And then you got to like hustle and get the next gig. On that note, what would be your one of your closest friends is about to make their first feature? What would be the piece of advice that you would impart on that friend? I think the no asshole rule is a great piece of advice, and I highly recommend the book based on that concept. But do you have like a simple piece of advice you would impart upon someone going to make their first feature?
Yeah, I think it'd be two things tied. The first one is it's okay to not have all the answers, but the follow up to that is that you need to be prepared. Like go in with a plan. Don't go in playing jazz. Um, Self fund your way to taking a look at the space early, to imagining the movie in your head. You aren't ready until you've imagined every scene and every moment in your head and you have a plan. And it's from that place of preparation that you can branch off and get jazzy and like really play.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. This is like, look, out of the gate. The sophomore effort for a director, I think, is that is really telling. I mean, you see a lot of filmmakers on their second film stumbled. I mean, you up the ante and in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. So, and I think that
Thank you.
critical response has just been so good. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, like please do more.
I'll try my damnedest. Maybe someday they'll let me touch Darkman, but I don't know. Maybe not. That'll be after the trilogy. I think it's time for more Darkman. That's all I want.
Look, a lot of franchises are coming back. I mean, and I'd love to see your take on something like that. Like, I just think that the comedy horror thing is such a hard thing to thread to get right, and you've done it twice now. So please continue.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Very, very kind.
Great talking to you on the show. I appreciate it. Thanks again.